Possiggee's mix class is an important step in the right direction because no matter how long you have been mixing, there are always things, new tricks, new techniques to learn. The technology is changing constantly. I had to relearn completely to move from being an engineer working on an analog console to learning how to work in a digital audio workstation. So I encourage you all to improve on your mixing skills, learn tricks from the experts. Somebody like Possigee has been mixing songs for over 20 years. Too many songs to mention that he has mixed. And it is a very specialized art. Very often we look at making beats or creating songs or recording songs or arranging songs as, oh, I'm an engineer. Yes, and that's a very important part of the music production process. But the mixing process is a separate process in itself. And I always try and avoid mixing material which I produced or arranged or recorded myself. If I created a song or I've done a lot of work arranging or rearranging the song, I will not mix it because the song is too close to me. I always give my songs like that to someone else to mix. The only time I'll mix a song I produce myself is if maybe I haven't worked on it for 3 or 4 or 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. So something from way back in the past. That my ears may be fresh enough. But when you're working on a song, you need a set of fresh ears with a fresh perspective to bring the energy and the life out of the song. You know, usually the creator of the song, you are putting the energy into the song, and then you need somebody who looks at that song from a dispassionate and third-party point of view and tries to bring that, what you have recorded and what you have laid down for them, tries to bring it to life. So it's a very important part of the creative process. Even though, as an individual, I take most of my pride in the arrangement of a song, I always know the mixing and mastering is the polishing. And I mean, over the years, I have always relied on other engineers to help me to achieve this. So I might have a good idea in my head of what I want this song to sound like, but I always give it to somebody else. Sometimes I'm not even there. I'll make sure I go away. I'll come back at the end of your session. If you say you finish mixing the song, I'll come and listen. Because really, even I don't want to worry you, I don't want to interfere with you. I want you to be able to work on it freely, to try and recreate the energy, which I am aware of because I created it. But now you want to make a listener sitting somewhere in Papua New Guinea be aware of that same energy. And that process, you've got to decide, you know, which instrument am I going to place the emphasis on? Which voice am I going to place the emphasis on? Where am I going to place the voices? How am I going to make these elements sit inside the drums or outside them? How much space am I going to create for this song? And those things for me are very important creative decisions because they make it easier for somebody to enjoy your music. And my belief is if I create a song, I want to do all the work that there is to be done so that the person listening to the song doesn't have to do any work to enjoy it. So if the person who is going to listen to the song has to go and work again before they can enjoy it, then I need to pay them for working to enjoy my music. But if I have done all the work that needs to be done to enable somebody to enjoy this piece of music, then they will pay me. So for me, I understand it as what is the work that needs to be done between when somebody thinks of a song in their head and somebody enjoys the song on the other end. That is our job as music creators, but it's still a job that is divided up into categories. You know, there are composers, there are arrangers, there are beat makers, there are drummers, there are keyboard players, there are trumpeters, there are sax players, there are singers, you know, there are mixing engineers, there are mastering engineers. All of these elements actually need to come together. And 1 man 1,000 has prevented us from achieving our potential because if we divide the labor, and there's a friend of mine who I used to mix all his songs and he used to mix all my songs. In the beginning, we weren't so sure that it was a good idea or tell you, let's try it and see how it works. But 6 months or 1 year later, when you go back and listen to those songs, you see that, man, this person who mixed your song for you, he got it right. Because when you listen to it 6 months or 1 year later, the song is exactly the way you want it to sound. At the time, you didn't know because there was an energy in you related to the song already, and that will confuse you. But the person who comes with fresh ears can lay out that energy properly. So mixing and mastering is, well, I mean, it's the finishing and the polishing of whatever it is we have done. But in this industry, you know, you need to pass that 96, 97, 98%. And the only way to do that is to mix and master your music properly. You know, at one point in time, I thought of all the classic songs that I knew. And I realized that all of them had a really beautiful sound. So for a song to become a really massive classic hit, everything needs to be in pitch. It's like the song has a perfect harmonic structure. Not perfect in terms of anything else, but every element in the song feels like it belongs there. You know, there is no instrument jumping out of the mix like can happen sometimes. So there are songs that have been successful with, let's say, anything less than an okay mix, the song is not going to be successful at all. So you need at least a decent mix. But the songs that become classics, that become hits, that you hear playing 10, 20 years later, those songs have really energetic and powerful mixes. That song might be 20 or 30 years time, but you play it next to any songs from today and the dynamics match. At the time that song was made, everybody said, the kick drum is too loud, king, 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 king. What kind of song is this? But you listen to it today, and it's just that the song was ahead of its time. And it's the kind of mix which a lot of us realize we like today because, you know, it drives the music, it pumps the music, Tali. You can feel the bass in your bones. And the music is nice like that. So the songs which have had the longer shelf lives, they have almost always been recorded well. And so they've been recorded well and they've been mixed well and they sound good. You know, it's impossible to have a massive hit from a song which just doesn't sound good. You know, it's, I think, sure, there is a law of diminishing returns, but in music, only the top 2, 3, maximum 5% of the music ever made is successful. So music, there is no successful with just 50% or 70%. There's no even successful with 80 or 90%. You need to exceed 95 or 97 or 98% in order to make an impact. So we really have to deal within those tiny margins. Every detail matters. You know, the beauty is in the detail. So, you know, those details are important. It's not, you know, there used to be a joke, Charlie, engineer, but, you know, we, the engineers, always knew that this is not actually the case. You know, if you're not going to finish something properly, you are wasting all the energy you've put into it so far. So, you know, just try and get it right and let it achieve its potential. You know, somebody tells me some trick, I'll go home and I'll try it and I'll see if it will streamline my work process. Because if I can work faster and more efficiently, I can work better because I have more time to do what it is that I want to do. So I'm always trying to streamline my process. And so, I mean, I feel it doesn't matter what level of the ladder you are at, there's always room for improvement. But I think in particular, our industry needs to clean up a lot, and especially internally with our radio stations and people's songs getting played on the station and how that revenue is distributed. I think all of that needs to be worked out. But the technology exists to do it. So I don't think it's a problem which should exist for much longer. Well, I think in a country like Ghana, our needle time and our residuals have been terribly managed for my entire career. So I think the digital era is going to offer a lot of opportunities to artists and producers and engineers to actually gather a healthier percentage of their generated revenue than ever before. So I think the beauty of a digital distribution and digital tracking system is that we will all find it much easier to find out how much revenue a song has actually generated, and it will be easier to distribute it to all of the concerned individuals. I'm doing a process at the moment where I am gathering all the contributors to a large number of songs. It simply means that if I collect $100 from one particular song, I know $20 of it goes to this person, $30 goes to this person, $25 goes to this person, and how much is left? Maybe 35 is left. 35 goes to this last person. This is how this money from this particular sale has to be distributed. You know, digitally it becomes very easy. Every month or every 3 months or every 6 months or every year, you aggregate a certain amount of money and you know how that money should be distributed. Spreadsheets and Excel make it very easy to do. So, I mean, I think digital distribution and digital platforms will probably put a greater share of a lot of artist revenue in their pockets than ever before. Sure, to some entities, digital means less revenue. So there are individuals or companies who might generate less revenue overall. But I think as far as the average African artist is concerned, you are going to end up with more of however much you generate in your pocket. It's easy to look at a business deal 3 or 5 or 10 years later and realize that you made a mistake or you could have done things otherwise. And I think anybody in any business always has a long list or a list of a few things that should have been done otherwise. In my case, I can think of a few, but I won't mention them because of the individuals concerned. But making mistakes or things going wrong is not a bad thing. It's actually the fastest way to learn. If you make a mistake, it's very painful, it's very expensive. I promise you, you will never make that mistake again, provided you learn from the experience. So when things go wrong, don't kick yourself, don't punish yourself, don't be depressed, don't be disheartened. Just look at what happened, try and figure out what you can learn from this experience and how you can avoid making this same mistake again in the future. And I promise you, that painful mistake might turn into your greatest blessing.